Okay, it looks like I'm back, but it looks like Hadassah is frozen, and I don't understand that because it seems like this happened to me and Lima, I believe, at least twice. Hadassah, were you frozen as
Yes, I was frozen and I'm back. I had to log out and log back in.
me too, producer? Listen, we need to talk to the people who own or produced or made this program because I find that within the first few minutes of every program, we freeze and we get locked out. And I was now talking to myself, asking myself, is this a sign? Am I not supposed to pep talks every morning? But I like to talk. Stupid. Anyway, Hadassah, welcome again to Pep Talks in the morning. I'm doing good, and how are you?
Thank you. I am good. I am still recovering from the blow, the emotional blow, the psychological blow that was the elections in Trinidad. I am not there, but I am looking on every day because Trinidad is home, it's my country, and I love it. And I really hoped that um, people had come to a place that they wanted better. Um, and I believe we do have some among the ranks who are starting to see that we cannot continue on the trajectory that we are on. But I still feel like not enough people have woken up. And on top of that, it looks a lot like the election was rigged. So I had a lot to deal with emotionally because I had so much hopes set on Pep taking government. But I think I've been able to like really find my strength again and decide that sometimes the things that are worth fighting for, you don't necessarily win the first battle. So I'm back here for the war.
I love that.
That's
I
it.
love how you said that. You know, and the reason why then pep talks these days doesn't take as much of a structured model as we used to before elections is the reason why we almost didn't have the program this morning. Yesterday, I had a meeting with Satish and Sean and Philip and Anne Marie, or Misty, as some of you may know her. And it's like we call it a meeting, but I think the five of us were just so missing each other. I swear to you. Now that elections is over and we're not having meetings at 3 o'clock in the morning like we sometimes would on Zoom,
Wow.
or we don't have to run down into the office to have an emergency management meeting. I think we've just been missing each other. And one thing, Hadassah, as you were mentioning to me that you're not here and you're dealing with that blow. For me, it wasn't. Of course, it was disappointing, but I'm taking myself out of the position where I am now, where I can still call my team and be like, "Hey, y'all want to meet up for a meeting?" and then really sit down and old talk and drink and sip coffee and stuff. And you don't have that. And I mean, that's something. I mean, I know that you're not here, but I have to put it into context for you and everybody, every other overseas member who would have been involved and who, had to experience this from afar without having the physical family there with them to cushion the disappointment that would obviously come with not being a victor in something that you work so very hard at. Because that's you came down, you came with us within the last year, but you're one of those people who, once you joined the team, it felt like you were foundation member. It felt like you were pressing on from the start and everything. I mean, you were basically managing online practically by yourself.
Yeah, well, the thing about it is, I really believe that I had found something meaningful and that really gave my life some purpose and direction when I joined the PEP. And you guys really are like my family. And so it was not like a difficult thing to do. And I really just wanted to be part of it, be part of the struggle, be part of the fight, um, because it really gave me hope for a better country, for a better Trinidad and Tobago. So yeah, and I really wish I was in Trinidad with you guys. It looks like I'm going to be here a little longer, and I don't know what to do with myself, to be very honest. I
So you're
mean,
not
tomorrow is
coming
my
back
mom's
home.
birthday. Well, yeah, because
Aw.
I am still waiting. I'm still waiting for um travel exemption from the Ministry of National Security. Um, right before elections, I was starting to get correspondence from them asking me if I was willing to pay for quarantine and different things. So it looked like it was moving along. And since elections, well, nothing. And I guess maybe I supposed to allow for a transition period. Um, but yeah, I really want to be able to come home and just being out here. I'm tired now. I miss home. I miss my family. I miss you guys. I just, you know, and yeah.
No, that must really be it must really be difficult. And I hope yeah, I wanna say I hope that these people get some sense because it seems to be, if you were an illegal immigrant to that, so you would have probably been home already if you were driving up
Well, yeah.
the Orinoco River, coming into the Carney Swamp, you would have been home already, and that's really sad. But
I thought
it's the
about that. I was
reality
like,
of
would
this.
I have more luck if I flew to Venezuela and then caught that ferry to see dress?
The ferry. It is practically a ferry, though. It is like, I mean, just now you're gonna hear the what should they call it? Venezuela
Venezuela.
transport into island, into country union. I don't know. They will unionize just now. I'm pretty sure about it. Um, Probably get official licenses and stuff. For the illegal transshipment that they're doing. I have no idea, but it's a real shame that you, as a citizen, it's so hard for you to get home. And
Yeah.
I can only hope that at some point sense prevails with these people. But we all know that they're not so big on common sense, are they?
I would hope so too. I would hope so too. I do think about um the fact that I'm one of the persons stranded outside who I happen to be really comfortable where I am. Um, I don't want for anything, but there are so many of us who are not in that position, who actually have to find a place to sleep every night, who are going hungry. And the longer this goes on, it's the more that, people are going to be more at risk for coronavirus. Um, it just it's unthinkable to think about it, but I really, really hope that things will start to happen in Trinidad and they'll be able to expedite the process and bring everybody home. Because that's just it. People just want to be able to come home.
And it
Hmm.
sounds simplistic enough, huh? But seems to be the hardest thing to happen right now, unless you are a certain 1%, or you have a certain last name, or you have certain connections in this country, or you're coming home to fight an election. Well, not for the PP, obviously, because that was your
Obviously.
situation and they didn't let you back in. Anywho, moving on, because as as we are seeing here in the PP right now, you know what? For the next few years, we're gonna kind of be like hands off. Let the government make their decisions and let us, the public, look on. The ones who have been crying, hey, look out for this government, and the ones who've been ignored, we're going to take a little step back now and allow those who think that they know better and can do better. This is your time to shine. This is your time to show us what you're made of. We are facing dark economic times, so let's see how they plan to pull us out, other than taxing us into prosperity. All of these things that I'm looking forward to. I think budget day, I might legitimately have a bag of popcorn with me. I need to see what kind of movie we're going to be seeing on budget day, because I highly anticipate it's going to be fiction, definitely.
The thing about it is that while we can say we're taking a hands-off approach and we're going to be observing, whatever the government decides will ultimately affect all of us. Um, and that is the thing. And for me, I always, that is what I was feeling, that you cannot afford to sit on the sidelines and say that you're not political or that you're not in politics, because at the end of the day, this is a perfect example. A lot of us did not vote for the PNM, but they have now formed the government for another 5 years, and whatever decisions they make, whether we agree with it or not, is going to have some impact on our lives. It's going to be financial or social or whatever it is. And
Definitely.
yeah.
Someone was asking me prior to the election, she was saying, I've never voted, and my mom was telling me that if you don't vote, you practically voting. And she said, what does that mean? Explain it to me. I said, well, basically, when you vote, you are actually making a decision for one of whichever parties are in your constituency. You're making a definitive decision to choose one. When you do vote, you're literally leaving it up to the rest of people, the rest of the country, to make that decision on your behalf. So either way a decision is being made, just in one instance, you are actually making a decision in favor of something. And I say, to advocate a responsibility as a voter is to basically say that you don't care about democracy, because there are some countries right now where they don't have a choice. It is a dictatorship. They are told what they have to choose. And I mean, I kind of feeling like we get in there, because to mention that the election may have been rigged means that they're tricking you into believing you are a democratic society. But in essence, I don't know. That was just a very dark thought that I just had there, and I don't want to think about it too much, because I don't like the idea of where we heading, to be really honest with you. And me saying, and us in the PP saying that we're taking a step back, is not because we are not, it's not because we don't care anymore, but it's because at some point you need to let the people take ownership of their mistakes, and their, what's the other word for mistakes? The mistakes and what they chose. You need to let them take ownership of it, and whatever comes. Unfortunately, all of us will be in the same boat. But sometimes people say maybe it needs to crash and burn before it gets better. I personally don't want it to get like that. I can't see myself.
Hmm.
Listen, I cannot. I try to imagine myself like those people in countries that are war torn and are suffering from civil war and stuff like that. And I cannot imagine living like that. But some of the greatest countries in the world right now were born out of situations like that. So, God forbid. But at the same time,
Indeed, but I feel like as a population we really need to force ourselves to have these uncomfortable and sometimes dark conversations, because that's the only way we could move ahead. I was really hopeful that PEP being part of the elections this year would have forced um, more dialogue, and would have forced people to think about better governance and for policy and stuff like that. And it did not happen as much as I wanted, but we really need to start to think about the fact that our population is about 1.3, 1.4 million people. The electorate is about 1.1 million people. Yet we have a government being formed because about 300 and something thousand people voted for them. And for all intents and purposes, that is a minority. And I don't know how I feel about that. I really feel like I don't have it, like I didn't have a choice. And I think we really need to start to think about how the government can be restructured and what that could look like going forward, because it's not good enough to say, well, my party win and the PNM people, well, quote unquote, happy, right? But the rest of the country almost like bracing for whatever they think is coming or they perceive as coming. And that's not a good way. I don't see how that could be beneficial, that only a handful of people are happy and everybody else really believing that, okay, doomsday.
Hmm. It really feels like that. It really honestly feels like that. And I read in the comments this morning. Today is Wednesday, the 19th of August. What did I say? Tuesday? I don't know. I'm kind of losing track of the days a little bit. I know it's the 19th.
I,
So
right.
I
I
can't
can't
remember
remember
what
what
I
you
say. I
said.
don't know. When I watch it with the child, I'll see what I said. But thank you, Jacinta. Today is Wednesday, the 19th of August, and I'll probably wear a little pin on my chest so I don't get it wrong again for the rest of the day. Don't do that. The party go mash up. You need something to hold you all together. Don't do what? Stop the show? That was a comment from David Jimmel. Um, no, the show is not the glue that holds us together. The love in our hearts that we have for each other is the glue that holds us together. Don't you worry. um, Good morning to you, Terrence. And guys, don't forget, coming down to the end of the program, the last 10 minutes, you can post your questions for Hadassah and myself to answer. PG questions, political, and I don't want to say personal related questions. Do not ask me when I plan to get married. I will not be answering that question. So ask me questions that you know I would answer without hesitation. Um, but
I
jumping
mean,
into
like,
some
I
of
would
the
ask
topics,
that question because I want to know.
you want to know what? When I get married? I was telling Chinette, you're all getting to hear it live right now. I don't, and I think you all would have realized this in the course of the 3.5 years that you've gotten to know me. I do not talk, you know me on a political level. I don't really talk my business, my private business like that, but I'll give you all a little snippet, a little hint inside of my life. So consider yourself lucky. Consider yourself very lucky. Yesterday I was talking to when I was meeting with Sean and Anne-Marie and Philip and I was like, guys, this has been a very long 3.5 years. Y'all have taken the best years of my life. Just kidding, of course. And I think I'm ready to be a mommy. I am
Really?
having Yes, I am having baby slash mommy fever right now. I don't know what it is. It's like it was happening right before election, But now it's like everywhere I go, I'm just seeing these cute little fat nuggets of babies, and I'm like, I want one.
Oh my goodness. I
I
can
know, I
honestly
know
say that has never happened to me.
that never happened to you. Oh, I watch the numbers just spike when I
No.
say that.
I feel that way. I feel that way about puppies. I have never felt like this surge where I need to have a baby. Never. But you know what? You
Listen,
go, girl.
I don't know what it is. I do not know what it is. And then Daniel Jackson went and tagged me in this post with these two little sweethearts. Oh my God, if you see their faces, it's like a twin. And I am just thinking, imagine what it would be like to have a twin and just hold both of them at the same time and just hug them up and just bite up their fat cheeks. And it's like, I want one.
Oh my goodness.
So, you heard it straight from the horse's mouth. Felicia Holder is ready to bring forth a child into this world. Now, before we even get there, let's talk about the fact that Felicia Holder is nowhere close to even meeting the father of this child. So it looks like I have a little bit more waiting to do as it pertains to this sweet little baby that I have been imagining. Love puppies and kittens too, but this is different. I want to be a. I think I'll be a good mommy. So
I think you'll make an excellent mom. Like, I
I'm
fully endorse
32.
that.
I'm 52 now. So let's. I'm giving myself until about 34 to to meet Mr. Right and yeah, and bring a little Felicia into the world. So we'll
I
see
think
about
that's
that. Anyway,
doable.
y'all get a little private nugget into my life there. So moving on, moving on, into politics now. You'll get enough of the personal questions. SEA is starting for tomorrow, and I mentioned this on Monday. I have no idea why, for the life of me, they are forcing this examination on the children. School is not going to reopen for the rest of the year. Um, Over 50 pupils have been self-quarantined in the Vistabella Presbyterian Primary School, and they still have no idea, as of today, whether they will be allowed to sit the SCA examination or not. Why are we doing this to the children? The day before the examination, why are you still uncertain about whether or not you're going to have a percentage of the children who are getting to do the examination and a percentage who are not? If you cannot ensure that all children get to move forward, why are you putting them at a further disadvantage?
I feel like every time the government has an opportunity to do the right thing, they always seem to take a turn in the opposite direction. And I agree with you. I feel like they're really forcing the issue. And more than anything, I think COVID-19 really um, gave everybody an opportunity to restructure and to rebuild almost. And I feel like the government doesn't want to have the difficult conversation. The Ministry of Education doesn't want to have that conversation of what would it look like moving forward if we do not have the C exam. Because I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world for them to say, all right, we have an opportunity to reset almost. And I feel like they're insisting upon this, and we're just going to end up with more cases. And for me, I cannot understand why you would want to do that. It's putting more people at risk, putting children at risk, putting the society at risk. I really don't understand.
This would have been the perfect opportunity for doctors, for the Ministry of Education to say, you know what? while we can't reopen schools, while children can't be in school, let us look at transitioning. Let me tell you, you see,
Exactly.
our education plan is so on the button. It's so on the ball. We is one of the things that, had we been in office, I would have been gung ho to see implemented. Children don't, they don't, what's that word? They don't process things well when they're doing it under pressure. They learn and they cram and they learn things by rote, but they don't actually learn things. And when you think about it, what do you honestly remember from the days of SE? I remember you used tan, cosine, and adjacent. Asked me to calculate that. I cannot even remember what it was about. But the things that they force us to cram just to sit an examination, it has been proven through history that it does not actually stay with you, doesn't really build critical thinking and critical information. So this would have been a perfect time to transition to a model that allows the children to be monitored. Yes, I mean, you have to be monitored against something, but rather than monitor them against other children, why not monitor them against themselves, monitor their own performance year after year, each grade after each grade, using the grade point average, monitoring the classroom by extension, and of course, that classroom monitoring is going to give you the GPA of the teacher. That monitoring the GPA of the teacher is going to be able to monitor, give you the GPA of the entire school and thus the GPA of the principal. Monitoring the GPA of all the principals and all the schools in one district is going to give you the average GPA in a school district. So that way, from
Yeah.
the ground up, down, you get to have an average average GPA for the child, the teachers, and the principals. So that way you get to see who is performing, who is not performing. You drill down to a particular district, you see out of 8 schools, 7 are scoring 80% and above. One is scoring just under 60%, one school. When you go down into that school, you realize that out of the 10 classes, 8 of them are scoring above 75%. 2 of them are scoring below 60%. When you look into those two classrooms, you realize that the teacher doesn't, in one class, the teacher doesn't come to school often. In another class, the classroom is too big, so the children are not getting individual attention. And things like this allow you to see and analyze and zone in on issues. In one classroom, you may have children who are underperforming because they come from a family where they don't get breakfast in the morning. Mommy always screaming at them. Daddy's an app father. And in these instances, you get to now bring in the social development and the social intervention aspect, which is needed. A lot of what we see in schools right now, the failures, a lot of them in schools, is just for a lack of proper social intervention and social management. So education and that has to go hand in hand. But the way we do it in this country, it is as if social development does not even exist. Every time I see Camille Robinson Regis's face, she gets me mad because she holds such an important function in this country. If we were to get into government, I honestly wanted to have some role in social development because I understand that when the social fabric of your country is torn, everything that is going to come out of it is going to be torn. Your education is going to be impacted. Jobs, people are not going to be able to, um, if there's no jobs in society, people are going to be kept back by that. In terms of abuse, all of these things is going to be impacted, and reconnecting and reattaching and rebuilding the social fabric of your nation is one of the core um roles of the social development department, and to see the way we pay lip service there, it bothers me because it is literally the backbone on which this country is built. When you look at the disparity between certain sectors of society, you can tell those who were brought up, nurtured, and those who were literally left to fight and grow up on their own. And I mean, back to education, the idea that, as a child, children are missing out on this aspect of social intervention where it is needed. It is why we have so many broken people, so many broken homes, so many people who are being left behind in our society. That's all.
Indeed, very well said, Felicia. And just going back a little bit, I remembered what it was like at the time when I did it. It was called the Common Entrance Exam. And I remember what it was like. I remember being totally stressed out. I remember feeling a lot of pressure to bring home a good school, a lot of pressure compared to thinking about what my friends would have done. And I'm thinking that now looking back, that was too much for an 11-year-old, right? And you're thinking about that. I should not have been thinking about feeling like a failure at age 11. And that is
Yeah,
exactly what it is, feeling all this pressure. And then, well, I guess ultimately the relief when you pass for a good school and whatnot, but not thinking about what it would have meant for others who did not perform as well, and it really should force us as a country to start to think about, to start to want more. But again, I feel like we're not mature enough, um, and we have, I don't know, we have satisfied, or where we're just content with, I don't know, same old, same
mediocre.
old. Yes, and we're not really understanding how a society is built, how we have to focus on communities and then build out, and we're lacking so much, and we're not connecting the dots, and then everybody is confused as to, well, why do we have so much crime, or why we do have so much people underperforming.
It's crazy. And I actually did the last common entrance back in 2000. 2000 was the last year of common entrance. And I remember Hadassah having waking up mornings. I used to have nightmares about passing for junior secondary. That was a nightmare to me. And I know there were others in my class experienced the same thing. Like the constant pressure of wondering what is happening for the rest of your life. And like you say, at 10 and 11 years old, how could they? It was almost insane that they would have done that to us. I'm reading a comment from Stephen Downer on the live. When you consider the amount of money set aside as budget for education, but we lack basic facilities in school, then one can only wonder where the money gone. Where is the money going?
Exactly, exactly. And he is right, because we have to reimagine what our education looks like. And I was really excited too about our education policy and what it would have meant in terms of what our schools would have looked like, um, consulting and collaborating with the Finnish government, you know, in terms of implementing how we do teaching and having two teachers to a classroom, and just allowing children to be children and teaching them in a way that helps them to, develop their analytical skills and things like that. Um, but we're not ready. We're not ready because our schools are, they're such depressing places to be. Like, I have a couple friends who are teachers, so every now and again, I have to probably go and pop in and drop something for them. And the conditions,
That's
yeah.
Go ahead and talk. I have to take off my video for 1 second while listening to you.
Okay, no problem. Yeah. The conditions under which our teachers are forced to teach um, is horrendous. Sometimes there are holes in the roof. You have to think about things like asbestos, um, holes in the floor because the infrastructure has not been maintained or improved in years. And some of these schools in these high risk communities, it really makes you wonder how it is even that any child is able to perform to the level where they could pass for any school, because the conditions are so deplorable. And we're just thinking about basic infrastructure. You're not even thinking about what the playground looks like. You're not even thinking about, should schools now have their own cafeterias to cook meals for kids. We are so far behind in everything. Where the money going? Stephen is very correct.
I One thing I like to tell people when I'm on a walkabout, I'm gonna miss walkabouts, but not really, because they will resume. One of the things I like to tell people is that buildings is not progress. Right in Diego Martin Central, where I ran for my seat, on one stretch there is the sporting complex that they opened in 2019. Across the road from that is a new health facility that they rushed to open in time for election. Lower down is a community center that they opened about 3 months or 4 months ago. And what all three of those buildings have in common, which, oh, by the way, all three of them are across the road from the Diego Martin Central Secondary School, which was a junior secondary that they turned into a secondary school. Um, these three buildings, these three edifices, or you can call them these three monuments, as they stood, because there was a whole hullabaloo and ribbon cutting, and this is what we have brought to you. Those three buildings to date are unoccupied, unused, and of course ballooned, and spent so much of taxpayers' money. And on paper, when you walk on that stretch, you're gonna think, oh, we have a new sporting complex, and oh, we have a new health facility, and oh, we have a new community center. And on paper you're like, oh, we're going somewhere. When you think of the fact that the community center is not used, the sporting complex, you have to pay $1,000 to use it as a child club group in the community. Who has that? You have to apply to use it. When you think about the health center that is probably going to start just like the Arima Hospital, just like the Cooper Children's Hospital, built and just standing as an empty shell, what really is the progress that we have made as a country? What really is the progress that it has brought to Diego Martin Central, except to fool the people and make them believe that we're going somewhere, when we do have right across the road an actual school that some children are failing, and I can see this with, as a fact. Some children are failing. Some children are not being given access to the same kind of education that you would get in a prestige school. Some children are coming to school hungry, or leaving at the end of the day having learned nothing, surrounded in a community by all of these fancy buildings that they built up. And I have to tell people and remind them that buildings is really not progress. Progress is when That one same school that you had before all the three fancy stuff that they gave you, when that one could produce top performers just like CIC and Fatima and Queen's Royal College, and when that one school where there are issues that need social intervention, that you have people to actually come in and intervene and assist the teacher, and that is progress. Progress is of the mind, that and that is what people don't understand, and that is what I will never get tired of seeing. But at some point, Trinbagonians, we have to accept that for all of the fancy buildings that are going up around us, we are not any better off as a society for it. When the Coover Children's Hospital was building, Hadassah, I asked one question. One question. We barely have doctors right now in Mount Hope. Who is going to staff the Coover Children's Hospital? And I asked that question because I found it mind-boggling to me to imagine that we were building this huge facility and that we just had a battery of doctors just sitting down waiting to just plop and pick up and drop to work there. And of course, that's not how it works, guys. Sorry for all the yawns. And of course, that's not how it works. You actually have to, and I mean, and this is how I thought it would have worked while it was building. You actually have a training program in the present hospitals where you know that you're going to be training and matriculating these people into the Hoover Children's Hospital, because you're having, while the building is going up, you have the human element going into it too. And of
Yeah.
course, that was obviously crazy thinking, because when it was finished, exactly what I was hoping would not happen happened. We finished build this hospital and we have nobody to work in it. Same thing with the Arima Hospital. Same thing with the Point Fortin Hospital. Same thing with the Diego Martin Hospital. Pretty buildings, but nobody to go in it. So it really has progress other than the salaries and the pockets of the people who are being paid to build all of these things. All of the HGC houses that are built and rotting right now. How is that progress if it is not actually being used for what it is supposed to be used at? And this is where the red pill, blue pill analogy comes with the matrix. It's like you're seeing the truth and you know the truth, but the truth is so difficult to swallow that you're going to prefer to live in darkness. The people of Diego Martin Central know that they can't afford to use the sporting facility. They know that the hospital is going to stand there unopened for the next how much ever years. They know that that community center looks nice on paper, but none of their children are going to actually use it. So why go back to, the lie that they know that they're living? Because sometimes lies are comforting. I have to believe that.
No, well, I think it is that our governments have never been challenged um, to produce or to perform better than they have been um, in the past up to today. Because sometimes you're having these back and forth arguments with people on Facebook, which I have come to realize are really pointless. It doesn't make sense with arguing with somebody um, if they're really not willing to accept a new idea, right? Um, but if it is, somebody could say, well, I voted this party because they built a Rima hospital, because people have said that, right? Um, and so clearly, the electorate is not at the point, they're not mature enough to realize that that is not enough. So now the government does not have to deliver beyond that. You really just need to build a building, and people will be like, yay, we get a new hospital. And nobody is thinking, have they thought about staffing and whatnot? Because I always feel like you cannot build unless you fix and master what you have, right? So all our hospitals are are a travesty, And I am thinking that is where you need to that is where you need to start. You need to start to think about the current size of the hospitals that we have. Are they well staffed? Are they well managed? Who is accountable when a patient dies um, in a surgery that should have been like a regular surgery and they should not have died? Um, and drill down to everything, down to things like, is there a schedule for the janitors, because the bathrooms or the hospital stuff is usually always very dirty. So you wonder even if they have something as basic as just getting the building itself cleaned, if they have that down, which they don't. And we don't demand these things, and we don't recognize that the way that it is now, the government is failing. So if they build a new hospital, people are going to be happy and excited. And I think that is why I think it's our job to challenge people to think more and to think beyond just the building, Felicia. You're very, very right, because a building does not need progress. Because what eventually happens is that the same poor service that we have right now in Port of Spain, in Mount Hope, in San Fernando, it's going to spill over into these new hospitals. And it's going to be the same old story again. The building is going to be allowed to become dilapidated and, under maintained. And we're going to still have arrogant and rude people greeting you when you come in with an emergency. You're not going to be treated with any type of dignity or like you matter. You have to wait hours in a waiting room. Granted, it might be a newer waiting room, but nothing has been done to fix the system. So until people could start to recognize that, all right, we need to drill down and we need to start to demand that things actually work and it's not just a new building. Because I would rather have great service at an old hospital that is well maintained than to have crappy service in a new building.
Totes agree with you there. Totally. And reading some of the comments on the live video, because Daniel asked, do you think that pep talk should continue? Someone said, I think pep talk should take a long break because of the pressure of the build-up of elections. Going door to door and plenty meetings every day also motivates up and down with the candidates, making it difficult. Derek, I appreciate all of your concern about us. We are very reasonable, actually. 2 days, 3 days of sleep, and I was like back bouncing on a wall. But I get what you're saying completely. Um, I think Pep is a progressive voice and should continue to be a strong voice to inform and enlighten the people in Trinidad and Tobago. Two very opposing comments. Mario is saying my thoughts exactly on what just said. Not where the money is, but it's the mind. It's not where the money, but the mindset of the people. And Junior said, sister. No, Hadassah, you hit the nail on the head there again. And I agree with you completely. I would rather walk into a rundown looking facility, but when I reach there, I don't have to scrub the bench. When I reach there, the nurses are greeting me with a smile. When I reach there, they're giving me the actual medicine that I need. They're not saying that it's out of stock and I have to go to the private hospital and pay 5 times the price for it. That's what I want. That's what the people want and don't know that they want. Or they know that they want it and they get temporarily confused by or fooled by fool's gold in the form of a new health center, not understanding that in the 3 years they still have to use the old health center, still things still not going to work. And when they do get the
Exactly.
new health center, it's just going to continue the process.
Because
Where go
Felicia,
see?
we live in a country where, for you to get any type of service, it always comes down to you have to know somebody, right? And it should not be like that. Our country is so broken that I remember I sprained my ankle. I was coming from the gym. I was walking home. I went on I could only call it a pothole. I sprained my ankle and I had to go to the hospital. And I literally had to call my ex boyfriend's mother, who works at Mount Hope, for her to help me to ensure that I was able
Wow.
to see a doctor that night and get an x ray, etc., etc., etc. Other than that, I remember I got there around 8 o'clock in the night. I was lucky to leave at 11, only because I knew somebody. And I got there. I met people in the waiting room with worse injuries than me. A guy was literally bleeding out, and I left, and he was still there. And it should not be that to get basic service that you should have to call somebody that you know.
What would have been your case if your ex-boyfriend mother didn't like your girl? You would have been in a hot mess.
Exactly. Exactly. I probably would have still been sitting there, and God bless her heart, and stuff like that.
And
But that is exactly it.
that's
Everything,
the truth.
everything. You need to know somebody in the bank.
Before you go
It's
to
crazy.
any public or public establishment, you always thinking ahead, who do I know? Who do
Yes.
I know? Who I could call?
Mm-hmm.
Who could Right now I have to go and renew my passport, Hadassah, and just the thought of it making me feel to cringe. Just the thought of it. I just had to reject I just got a WhatsApp call, believe it or not, from your mom, Hadassah. So she's probably trying to call in on the show, but I can't take a call and have the
No, I
program
don't think
at the
it's that.
same time.
She's
So,
calling for her soup pot.
for her what?
Her soup pot. She would have brought
Her soup.
soup for you
Okay,
guys
well,
on
I'll call her
election
after the
night.
program.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
call her
I
after the
think that's what
program
she'd be
and
calling
tell
you
her.
for.
Okay, cool.
Because I
All right,
gave
well,
her
people, it
instructions. I
is.
was like, Mommy, carry ice cream and carry soup for them.
We still have ice cream. I trying to make it. It's 8 a.m. We are out of time for the program this morning. Thank you for joining us in another episode of Pep Talks in the Morning. Where we go from here, I am not certain. Me, like I said, I like doing this. I love, having this convo in the morning with you guys. I love that people wake up to watch the program, etc. Um, we are, as a party, taking things a little bit easy. We've been in ramp up mode, so we're kind of ramping down, not going anywhere, but we are ramping down. So whether we do this program every day, maybe once a week, twice a week, to be determined. But you will definitely know what's happening. But look out for that notification popping up on your phone that Pep Talks is live, because once we're live, we are here, we're talking, and we are educating. Thank you for being with us, Hadassah. Until next time, let me go and organize your mommy's support for her. You'll stay safe, and we will be back for another episode when we're back. Bye bye.